What's up, YouTube? BigSweetC here with you. Got a special little video for you today. We are talking Final Fantasy VII Remake once again, and today we are going to give you, I'm going to give you my official initial review. So I haven't completed the game yet. I'm about 16 hours in, 17 hours in, about, I'm going to venture to say I'm probably halfway. I think chapter 9, I think there's 15 chapters. So we're about halfway through our initial playthrough. So I figured I would just kind of throw out, my initial thoughts because I have a ton of them. And now I may come across as a little bit of a fanboy here. Because you guys know Final Fantasy VII, the original, is my favorite game of all time. And two, pat myself on the back a little bit, I was kind of touting this game during the demo, talking about just how great I really think this game is going to be. And I 100 wholeheartedly, 10,000% agree with my original assumption. The first 16 hours of this game has been absolutely fantastic, and there are a bunch of different reasons why, starting with the superficial part of it. The look of the game is absolutely fantastic. It looks like an animated CGI movie more than a computer-generated image, and I know there's very distinct differences, slight differences between the two, but it is a big distinction because there's a reason why you don't see video games on the big screen when you go to see like an Incredibles movie, or for that matter a Final Fantasy VII Advent Children Blu-ray movie edition. So the fact that they were able to make it look more like that and less like a traditional video game a la Red Dead. Don't get me wrong, I think Red Dead looks great, but you can kind of tell that it's a video game. This one looks more like a cinematic movie. And so right off the bat, obviously, the superficial aspect of it is the look of the game is absolutely phenomenal. Probably one of the greatest games I've ever seen on a console in my entire life. And I would put it up arguably one of the maybe top 4 or 5 games I've seen, period. It's hard to compete with a PC, especially if you have a good one like myself and a bunch of our friends. It's even more difficult to compete with a PC computer that does have some high-end graphic cards that allow you to add mods to it that make it look more textured and detailed. So for the fact that this looks as well as it does on a console exclusive is super profound to me, and job well done with from Square Enix. So right off the bat, the superficial stuff, obviously A+, a thumbs up on the graphic side. Along to it though, the actual gameplay has been phenomenal. Outside of a couple of cutscenes, between transitioning between location and location, chapter and chapter, there is almost no loading time. And to be honest with you, I haven't come across any loading time going from level to level, area to area, fight to open world, back to fight. The fact that it goes from open world RPG to platformer to standard, battle fight, with all the 3D rendering that goes along. I mean, you are literally in the slums. No longer top-down look, but they have you on ground level, and the detail in these shacks. I know I know the director made a really funny comment on Twitter the other day. He apologized. He's like, "I'm sorry, the slums are too poor to have more color." But if you're looking at them and going, "Oh my God, these slums! I can't believe they don't have more color in it." Then you're just nitpicking on stuff, because I mean, you go in there and you can see the tin on the roof. You can a lot of the times you can read what's on the sign. Now, not all the time. They do have some of the signs are kind of blurred out because obviously there's not going to be, they're just not going to make up a whole bunch of stuff and spend a lot of time doing that kind of thing. But I mean, the detail to each and every single item on the map, and as you go around, the no loading times to go from one area to the next. Now, I think a lot of that is done because, you know, you are broken up into these chapters, and they go into it's a pretty linear. I don't want to say linear because there is some open world to it, and we'll get to that in a second. But it's a pretty linear story based on the chapter by chapter association. So it can kind of render out what you're going to be doing at all times when it initially loads that chapter in. And if that's how they chose to do it, and that's how they were able to figure this out, then I'm all for it. You know, I mean, I'm the guy that'll wait 20 minutes to load into Red Dead Redemption 2 so I can play online, and then have to have load times inside said load time into the game. Whereas with this, we load into a chapter, I can do whatever I want, and I no longer have to worry about any load times between anything. And it's so seamless. It's so it blends so smoothly. You don't even realize you're moving from one location to another. It's so seamless, and they just did. They were able to meld all these platformers and open world and puzzle games. It was just truly a remarkable achievement that Square Enix was able to pull off here. The battle system is in my mind beautiful, and I'm just tapping the surface. You know, like, one of the big things was you know, you go in, you just hit the hit button and it just does whatever it does. And I've talked about this before. That is completely false. And now I know Kotaka or whatever, that stupid internet review ragtag magazine that used to have some clout and is now completely jumped off the deep end. The reviewer of this game said that it was too easy. Whatever game he played, he must have definitely been playing on easy, or he just wasn't. He played like 20 minutes of the game and then decided that was enough for him, because it is not easy, and it is so easy in reverse to kind of get yourself into that area where you kind of get caught up and just hitting the attack button, and then all of a sudden the fight totally turns and you're wiped out. So it is a great job of not being super difficult to the point where you're never going to be able to figure it out, but also being difficult and smart enough AI to know when you've kind of lost contact, interest, if you will, into this game, and it kind of puts you back in your place by being able to do it the way it does. It's the stagger system, again, a lot like Final Fantasy XIII, but it's much more refined. There's the assess materia, which is essentially the new sense, and we'll get to this in another video. I want to do like a little beginner's tips and tricks video where I will talk more about the assess materia. But it comes into so much more play, and it's beautiful, because my biggest flaw, I would say, with a lot of Japanese RPG games, and even so to an extent a lot of early Final Fantasy games, you get into this side-scrolling type of fight, and you just sit there and you just have your characters attack all the time, and because it's a role-playing game, it just plays out. You don't really have to ever know what the enemies are strong or weak against. You don't really ever have to know what your characters can and cannot do. Maybe, sure, some of you guys like myself that really get into the game, sure, we try and challenge ourselves into what's the easiest way to take this guy out type of thing. But there's a lot of people that just sit there and they just pretend like they just hit attack, and it defeats the purpose, in my opinion, of a good battle system. And I think Square Enix here has done an absolutely fantastic job of, again, keeping it easy enough to where if you're paying attention to the game, you can figure it out, and it will eventually become second nature to you. But also at the same time, for those people that have kind of checked out, that are just trying to blow through the game, it does a good job of kind of putting you back in your place and running you up against those guys that are like, hey, this button mashing junk, it's not going to work. And I think they did an absolutely phenomenal job with that. A couple of other little things. The depth of the story that they have changed. And again, we're going to get into another video. I'm going to do what's a remake versus a remaster type of stuff. Kind of a follow-up to the incomplete game myth that everybody's been talking about. But just to get into the actual story a little bit in this, from what I have seen so far, the story is much more coherent and much more in-depth. And what I mean by that is there are several moments throughout this first beginning where you actually get to know Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse. That is, we knew who they were in Final Fantasy VII, but we didn't become friends with them like we have in this game. We didn't get any backstory on them. They were just kind of already there. And every mission that we went on with them, they were never really part of the team. They were just kind of always there on the mission, so to speak. They were in little areas that we could talk to them and they would give us hints on where to go, but we never really got to know them as a character or an individual. And that is completely changed in this one. They are a huge role to not just to Avalanche, but to Cloud's discovery of character, if you will, the setup of Cloud, who he is, where he's from, how he's come to be. It really kind of comes forth with his interactions with Jesse a lot, but Wedge and Biggs as well. You have a totally different dynamic with the reunion members. You know, you now have these Harry Potter Prisoner of Azkaban flying ghosts around that are the reunion members, which is totally new. Normally you just have these kind of random Mako poisoned guys that all have a random number, and they don't really, they add to the story if you're willing to look into it, but they don't really add to the story in terms of if you're playing the story, they don't necessarily make sense other than just kind of being there. In this game, they are essential to not only the progression of the story, but Cloud's character, Aerith's character, how everything comes to be, Sephiroth's character. They are much more profound in the way they play out. You know, they're more of a factor than just kind of being a MacGuffin like they were in the first one, where you talked about the reunion members. We all knew they were going to the Northern Crater, but we just kind of knew that about it, and that was the reason why we head to the Northern Crater. Now we actually, you know, kind of see them as an entity, if you will. And so it adds more depth to it. We get more personal, up close and personal with both Tifa and Aerith. Aerith especially, you get into Sector 5, and you realize all the good she's done. In the original, there was always the running joke. It's so funny because, you know, when in the original you fall into the cathedral, the chapel where she's at, and she has a line. She says, "It's so funny, this is the only place in the slums where the flowers grow." And then you go back to her home, you take her back to her home, and there's this gigantic garden in her backyard that she apparently, like, doesn't know about. Well, they changed that. You know, they make up for that in this one. This one, now her area is lively and flowery and producing life. It's specific to where she goes, not just the specific area that she happened to be in at the time, if that makes any sense. It adds to her character. It adds to her ability, her connection with the live stream, and it really gives you a reason. Gives Cloud a reason, gives the slums around her a reason to have hope and understand that there is, you know, some sort of life outside of all of this, trying to break free, and it's truly well done. The detail to it is, there's just so much more story and depth. totally adds to the whole overall arcing story that we've come to know and love, because these are treasured characters, treasured lore. They've become, part of a culture, if you will, and to be able to expand on these treasures in such a way that not only makes sense but also adds to the glory is not an easy task, because everybody by now, 20 years later, has come up with their own theories, and I've always said this before, and I'll say it again: your imagination, your personal imagination, is always going to be more exciting, more exhilarating, more adventurous than anything that you're going to read or play or watch or listen to, and that's just human nature. So for Square Enix to be able to tap in to that pop culture that they've helped create, but they've also, you can clearly see they've watched Manifest and they've taken that into account, and it's really really a truly good fan service, not only to the fans themselves, but as a statement to the product they are wanting to put out. And you guys know me, in a capitalistic society that is very very rare. It is almost always profit over product, and Square Enix decided to completely throw that model on its head, and they were like, no, this is our baby. This is what made us who we are, why we are cemented as one of the truly lasting entertainment companies in video games, and we're gonna take pride in making this, and it really shows. It really really shows. So before I let this get too long, I just wanted to kind of give you my initial review. We'll definitely get into a review once I finally get to play it. I don't know if I'm going to do it. Maybe I'll do a review after I've played through it once. I might wait till after we go through the hard playthrough as well. We have to beat the game first, and then it unlocks hard mode. Then we can go back through it the way, in my opinion, that it's probably supposed to be played. As a soldier, you should be a one-man army. Needless to say that, but that's, we'll see whether I do it once I get the actual game done, or once I go through and get all the trophies and go through the hard mode. But there will be an overall review, because there's a lot of story that I don't know what's coming up. And I'll talk about this more in the remaster versus remake video than in this one. But so far so good. 2 thumbs up. Patting myself on the back for calling this one from the demo. Highly recommend it. If you haven't tried it out yet and you are curious, you're just thinking about maybe dipping your toes in, do yourself a favor, put your big boy pajamas on, and just dive right in the deep end, my friends, because it's been an absolute blast so far. Either way, that's going to do it for this one. If you did enjoy this video, let me know what you thought down in the comments below. I'm always interested in what you guys think. I love to hear the feedback. I've had plenty of discussions with comments on previous videos before, so please let me know what you think in the comments below. If you want to hear more of my takes on Final Fantasy VII Remake or any of the other games that I happen to play, be sure to hit that sub button and that little notification bell next to it so you do get notified every time I drop a new video. And then if you want any of the Sweetness live streams, do yourself a favor, head on over to Twitch, hit that follow button over there, and hit that notification bell as well. Finally, if you have any any of the social medias, if you want to hear some more of my political rantings, head on over to Twitter, follow me over there. If you just kind of want to get to know me more in a personal sense, head on over to Instagram, follow me over there at BigSweetC. Either way, that's going to do it for this one. BigSweetC, that's me. Wishing YouTube, that's you. Wonderful day, night, morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it might be. Long as you're watching, I'm wishing you a wonderful watching time. Sweetness, signing off. Peace.